of the sun to the going down of the same. Adonai, I give you praise. Adonai, I give you praise. Let your spirit fill my temple. Yeah. You are worthy to be praised. Let our voices sound with triumph that you are worthy to be praised. Let your spirit fill this temple. You are worthy to be praised. Let our voices sound with triumph. Yeah. That you are worthy to be praised. 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 You are truly amazing, full of wonder and surprise. You're the life that breathes through me. With you I shall abide. You are truly amazing, full of wonder breathe through me. With you I shall abide.
Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr.
And Sean Appleton.
And this is
Hebrews in Exile. It's good to see you again, sir.
It's always good to be here in your presence and being able to share the words and the teachings of our opulent power.
Yeah.
El, Iye Asher Iye, Yahweh.
For sure.
I am always, in any situation and any place that I am with people, I am always going to acknowledge and proclaim the Father's name and teach them that the Father has a name.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm always going to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
While I recognize that that name comes with a responsibility, but I think the first thing that people need to know is if you're going to call the Father by his name, then understand what the Father's expectations are.
Sure.
You live in a house and you grow up in a house with a mother and a father, and the father is the governing party in the house, and you live
authority.
in the house according to the rules that he has established for you to live under. Likewise, excuse me, likewise, our Father, the Most High El, has given us rules and regulations to live by that we can live in his house. What is his house? Eretz is his house. He says it's his footstool.
Correct.
So this is his house. This is his land. He has created everything in it. And trying to get people to understand that is really, it's really problematic. I'm talking to someone this week, and I'm trying to get them to understand that there is a principle that's involved with understanding the Most High. And one of them is to get rid of the idea that you call him by a title that's not his, that's associated with idolatry. And when you pray to him. But, they're uncomfortable with this because they've never done it.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to get them to understand that, life and life circumstances are predicated upon our relationship we have with our Father. And I go to my favorite text, if your ways please me.
Absolutely.
I will give you
the desires of your heart. Yep.
Excuse me.
That's open the Psalms.
But the problem in that text is understanding the language of the text and how it applies. If your ways please me. That word ways is connected to Torah.
Right. These people, they tend to, I was thinking about that earlier today. I was postulating on that idea about, when people tend to acquiesce to their own truths. This is my truth.
Right.
So, no. There is a truth.
There is a truth.
Yeah, not your truth.
And the only truth in the whole wide world is the truth of the Father.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, goodness gracious, I got this cough going on. Excuse me.
Take your time.
So, where do we go tonight? I mean, I asked you, and you shot back to me. You thought maybe we should talk about some of the things I've been teaching out of Isaiah.
Yeah, you know what? The idea is maybe what we do is we have a subject matter that we talk about and on the Shabbat. And it might be just a good idea just to recap some of those ideas that we may have gone over and reiterate with individuals, so they can understand a little bit more in depth of what's happening there. I know a lot of people that are joining us by way of the stream, they've heard it already, but then give them an opportunity, even in the chat, and as we converse, as I'm hearing things you say, you know, give us a little bit of an opportunity to kind of go into it a little bit more in depth.
You know, can one of you guys bring me some water, please? Here's the thing, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
We have grown up in a theology that has been diabolically opposed to the teachings of the Most High.
Absolutely. Without question.
And the narrative in terms of what the end of days is going to look like has a real
Thank you.
it's skewed
Sure.
in terms of what is real.
Mm-hmm.
And to understand that nobody dies and goes to heaven.
Correct.
And nobody is going to be revivificated in the end of days and go to heaven.
Right. Exactly. Even though that comic book across the street would tell you otherwise.
And when you think through the logic, when you look at it logically, it does not make any sense. It does not make any sense that graves all over the world are going to open up and your body is going to come flying out of that, going into heaven. That logically doesn't make any sense.
No. Especially, obviously, when you look at it from a Hebraic standpoint, it's none at all.
And when you, God, why am I coughing tonight? I'm sorry, you all. I'm hot for one reason. The logic of it all just does not add up to Hebraic thought in this context. The Most High is constantly, through his prophets, telling us where we're going to end up.
Sure. Absolutely.
So when we talk about in Daniel, the revivification from the dust, some to righteousness and some to abhorrence, what's revivificating? See, what's coming to life, and where is it coming to life from? I am of the persuasion that everything about a man that the Most High has created goes back to its point of origin.
Okay.
Man, the body deteriorates to dust. The spirit of man, the pneuma, the breath, the spirit of man goes back to the Father who gave it. That only leaves the soul to define, well, where does the soul go? And our text says that the soul goes to Sheol, which is the holding place of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
It is from Sheol that the revivification of man is going to once again in instantaneous action take on its body again and arrive in the land. So the question becomes one: if the body goes to dust, the spirit goes back to the Father who gave it, then the question becomes one: where is the origin of the soul? Because the origin of the soul is connected at the time of the origin of man. And if man, oh God, I'm hot. My body temperature is hot. If the origin of man is in the motherland,
Mm-hmm.
then it only makes logical sense to me that the soul, when life leaves, body starts to deteriorate to dust, spirit goes to the Most High, and the soul instantaneously arrives at its defined destination, back home.
Okay. And that would be, yeah, there's a point of origin where that is, and we know where that
would
is.
be in the motherland.
Yes, correct. Correct.
Now, we know that Jerusalem, the land of Israel, is in the land.
That's correct. Right at the heart of it.
So we have all of these narratives. Hold on a minute. I gotta do something here. Hot. Oh.
Want some music?
I'm gonna go off camera.
Yes. Yes.
When I get hot,
Yeah, your
when my
radiator gets
when my
hot.
radiator gets hot, and I start this coughing, and I don't have my Cysterine to calm it down, which is what I would normally take.
Mm.
So, getting to have this understanding of our point of origin back in the land is connected to the central theme that Yeshayahu writes as he begins to talk about the redemption of Israel.
Okay.
So when we talk about the redemption of Hebrew Israel, we're talking about redeeming Israel. My God. Y'all, please forgive me tonight. I've got this cough. I can't seem to shake it. When we talk about the redemption of Israel, we're talking about Hebrew Israel being redeemed from the four corners of the earth and from everywhere that Israel has been dispersed. That's in text.
Correct.
Most High says, from that place,
Correct.
I will redeem you and I will bring you back.
Mm-hmm.
You and I, in our minds, have focused on the black church.
Right. Because mainly that's where a lot of our people are, and from our perspective. Right.
But as I said Saturday, when you think of Hebrew Israel is a much larger, much larger nation than what's in our black churches, because we have Hebrew Israel that's dispersed everywhere in the land.
That's true. That's very true. You have this narrative where
we have the Caribbean.
Yeah.
We have the Caribbean, we have the Dominican, we have
You have the motherland.
the motherland, we
Yeah.
have the UK, we have Brazil, we have Jamaica, we have all of these places where Hebrew Israel is dispersed. And in all of these places, all of Hebrew Israel is not confined to a Christian church or even a Christian idea.
That's true. That's true. I mean, a lot of times when we look at it, we think of, you know, like the transatlantic slave trade. We think of it in that particular perspective, but there's also an Indian slave trade that happened as well, where on the western side, or excuse me, the eastern side of Africa and the particular continent, they went up into those particular areas, you know, India or in the Middle East as well. So I'm only piggybacking on what you're saying because the expanse of where we are as a people is far greater than the four corners of the United States.
Right. So when we look at the prophets, and Yeshayahu is one of the major prophets that we can understand as he begins to expound to us the mindset of the Most High in the day of redemption.
Yeah.
He starts this narrative in Yeshayahu chapter 40, and from chapter 40 to the end of Yeshayahu, the narrative is all about redemptive times and periods.
Right.
In that narrative, there are some overlaps. There's some overlapping that takes us back and talks about Israel and Israel's pre-dispersion time.
Ah, okay.
But the examples that text gives us as it talks about that is only to parallel where they were then, where Israel is now. So we hear these kinds of words
From the prophet.
But let me go to 40 first.
Okay.
Because 40, Isaiah chapter 40 begins the narrative of the discussion that sets in motion the discussion of our redemption.
Where do you want to start? Verse 1?
Verse 1.
You want me to jump in? Let me jump in here.
Go.
Why you rest up? Brush them vocal cords for a little bit.
Go. Go,
Okay.
go. Go.
Out of the gate. 40. It says, let's go back. It says, comfort and keep comforting my people, says El. Tell Yerushalayim to take heart, proclaim to her that she has completed her time of service, that her guilt has been paid off, that she has received at the hand of Eye Asher Eye double for all of her sins.
Stop right there.
Okay.
There's a double comfort that's there to emphasize comfort and keep comforting my people is to emphasize the degree of our redemption. Jerusalem, take heart and proclaim to her that she has completed her time of service, that her guilt has been paid off, that she has received at the hand of Yahweh double for her sins, speaks to the idea that Jerusalem is a reference to the entire nation of Hebrew Israel, because Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, to where all of Israel would go to. So when we talk about the house, the house is Jerusalem. What's happened since Israel has been dispersed out of the land? Jerusalem and everything that's connected with it has suffered double in terms of her sins, because the land there has laid what?
Desolate.
Fallow. So if you go and you look at modern day Israel is not, and where they claim Jerusalem is now. If you look at it, it's a tourist area, and it's plush and green. But that's not what text says. Text says that the land would lay fallow and desolate until hasn't happened yet.
It sure hasn't. Okay.
So he says to us that in verse 3, a voice cries out, clear a road through the desert for Yahweh, level a highway in the Arava for our El. He begins to tell us that the land that was desolate and not usable is going to be glad, and the wilderness there is going to once again come together and be not a wilderness again. Then he began to talk about laying every valley. But I wanted to open with 40 because he talks about comforting. So now, as we read from 40 through Isaiah to where I am now in chapter 55, I think it is.
Okay.
All of those chapters down through 40 to 55 are chapters that explain what the redemptive period is going to look like and feel like.
Okay.
So we come out of chapter number 54 where he talks about things that are germane to what life is going to be like in the redemption. Let's go there. Let's just go there and read.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what? You got a real good one in 17 and 53, right above it. About that no weapon.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
But please. I say 53, 54 and 17. Excuse me.
You can read.
54 and 17?
Yeah.
Okay. 54 and 17.
No,
55?
54-1.
54-1,
Yeah,
okay.
let's go to 54-1.
Oh, let's start right up at the top.
And the reason why I want to do 54-1 is because 54-1 starts to begin to explain to us what the land, what things are going to look like during this redemptive period when Hebrew Israel is redeemed out of this exile and back into the land.
Okay.
Read.
Sing, barren woman who has... I got to do it like this. Sing, barren woman who has... Okay, never mind. Sing, barren woman who has never had a child. Burst into song. Shout for joy. You who have never been in labor. For the deserted wife will have more children than the woman who is living with her husband.
Stop right there.
All right.
Now, what do we hear? What do we hear in this first verse? What's the language type in this first verse?
It's kind of analogous to who we're talking about is the nation of the empire of Israel.
But in terms of its speech, what kind of speech is it? How do you see the speech? Is it a metaphor? Is it an allegory?
Oh, it's a metaphor.
Okay, so the Most High now is speaking in metaphors. When you read Isaiah, Isaiah is filled with metaphors and allegories.
Yes.
And so now you have to know what a metaphor and an allegory is. It's a comparison. A metaphor is a comparison that he uses to be able to express another idea that's kind of the same. So now we say, sing, barren woman. Who's the barren woman? Because I hope you all can get through this with me coughing like this.
They ain't going nowhere. We right here with you.
The subject matter in the text is still Jerusalem.
Yes.
So he talks about Jerusalem as being the barren woman who has never had a child. Why has she never had a child? Because she has been laying fallow and desolate ever since Israel has left the land.
Okay.
You who have never been in labor, for the deserted wife will have more children than the woman who is living with her husband, says Yahweh. Well, where's the husband? Yahweh is the husband.
Correct.
Yahweh is still in the land, but he is also in exile with his wife, with his adulterous wife.
Life. Yeah.
But in this exile, because of the way that Hebrew Israel functions in life, Hebrew Israel is a nation of people that are germane to coitus and procreating.
Yes, they are. That they like to do.
So in this exile, Israel, who is the woman, the deserted wife, is in exile. She's procreating with the nations. Therefore, she's producing more children than there was at the time that before Israel was excommunicated out of the land. Now, in order to deal with all these more children, he talks about in verse 2, enlarge the space of your tent, extend the curtains of your dwelling, do not hold back, lengthen your cords, make your tent pegs firm. Without going into a deep discussion about what's there, you can hear the language in there that the Most High is saying, because of all of these children and all of the largeness of Israel that's coming back, the borders, the boundaries of Israel are going to have to be enlarged. To make it set, to put it simple, I mean, that's kind of what it's saying. But from a metaphoric perspective, the direction at Jerusalem, while the curtains references the cities associated with Israel, there will be a need for the land to be enlarged in order to house all the people that are returning. Now, I said last week, you and I are like, we're hungry to get out of here. I mean,
hungry.
I mean, if
starving.
If the Most High would come yesterday, that would be soon enough. But could you have made it a little earlier?
Right. Exactly.
So when you look at Hebrew Israel in the world that the Most High talks about, there's a large population of people that are going to be returning to the land. Now, we know from text that the Most High is going to tell us in this text, as we get down here further in 55, 56, and 56, I think it is, where he's going to allow us to talk about the nations and the foreigner. So besides Hebrew Israel returning to the land, he's also going to bring back foreigners that are in good standing with him.
Very good.
So now if we go over to Daniel, to Daniel's narrative, where Daniel talks about, he looked and he saw the books were open, and he saw the Most High sitting on his throne, and the books were open, the book of the righteous and the book of the wicked. So we already know how the Most High defines wickedness. He defines wickedness in terms of individuals who know to do right by him and his teachings.
Right.
Not right by the other guy's teaching, but right by his teaching.
Correct.
And you don't do it. He defines those people as being wicked, and in Proverbs he refers to them as a fool. Those people in days past that are in the grave, and in the days moving forward, those people will never ever see the light of land. But
Wow.
not only wicked in the context of his word, but wicked in the context of their heart. If their heart is wicked and evil, those people will never see the light of land. So we have this enlarging of the space. So he says in verse 3, for you will spread out to the right and the left, your descendants will possess the nations and inhabit the desolate cities. Don't be afraid, for you won't be ashamed. Don't be discouraged, for you won't be disgraced, for you will forget the shame of your youth and no longer remember the dishonor of being widowed. That's talking about no longer the redemption will no longer bear the scars of why we were in exile.
Exile, right?
Now, for your husband is your maker, Yahweh Sabaoth is his name. The set apart one of Israel is your redeemer. He will be called the Elohim of all the earth. That doesn't need any explanation.
Nope.
For Yahweh has called you back.
Like a wife, yeah.
Like a wife abandoned and grief-stricken. A wife married in her youth cannot be rejected, says El. Briefly, I abandon you, but with great compassion I am taking you back.
Let me ask this. In the narrative there, you're on a roll. You're on a roll. Do we ever see an indication of the Most High giving his wife a get? I'm divorcing you. Or I've kicked you out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do. And we do with the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom, he expelled out of his land and he divorced her. The southern kingdom, which is the kingdom of Yehuda, he did not give Yehuda a divorce, but he separated himself from her.
Okay.
Now, we can understand that kind of narrative when we look at the writings in Ezekiel. I want to say, Ezekiel, where he talks about the two sticks.
Oh, joined together. Yeah. Which one is that?
No, I know that's Ezekiel.
Okay.
Ezekiel, I want to say,
boy,
let's see. Let me look here. Let me start somewhere.
That's not it. Y'all join too in the chat. Y'all know where it is in Ezekiel. Come on. Where is that?
Ezekiel 37.
37? Dang, I was close too.
Ezekiel.
Should be around 37 and 15.
It's 37:15.
37:16.
15. It says the word of Yahweh or Yahweh came to me. You human being, there it is. Take one stick and write on it for Yehuda and those joined with him among the people of Israel. Next, take another stick and write on it for Yosef, the stick of Ephraim, and all the house of Israel who are joined with him.
Yeah. Finally, bring them together into
right.
a single stick so that they become one in your hand. When your people ask, what does this mean? Tell them that Yahweh Elohim says, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, that's the northern kingdom, together with the tribes of Israel, who are joined with him, and put them together with the stick of Yehuda and make them one single stick, so they will become one in my hand. The sticks on which you write are to be in your hand as they watch. Then say to them that Yahweh Elohim says, I will take the people of Israel from among the nations where they have gone and gather them from every side and bring them back to their own land. I will make them one nation in the land on the mountains of Israel. One king will be king over
them.
all of them. They will no longer be two nations, and they will no longer again be divided into two nations. Now, you hear in Ezekiel all the language that I shared last week,
Right.
when the Most High said, "I'm going to give you the grace
Okay.
that I gave to David." And we went in to look at the grace that the Most High gave King David, and we came across the narratives that are written there where the Most High said, I chose David as my servant,
Right.
and I anointed him that his dynasty would be forever,
Right.
and he would be my anointed Moshiach forever.
Forever?
Forever.
Forever, ever? Ever, ever?
And his dynasty would be forever. So we saw that. Oh, come on now, take me where I need to go. Take me back.
You gonna bust into that song? I knew you was.
Where was I? Was in 55.
Yeah. Yes. 55.
Okay.
We're going back to Isaiah Yeshayahu 55.
No, I was in 55.
Yeah. You were in 55?
No, I wasn't.
No, we were in 54.
54.
Excuse me. 54.
54.
That's what we're going to is 55.
So now, when we understand what's taking place, he says, briefly I abandoned you, but with great compassion I am taking you back. I was angry for a moment and hid my face from you, but with everlasting grace I have compassion on you, says Yahweh, your Redeemer. So now we look at and listen to the words that Yeshayahu is speaking concerning our state where we are. When redemption time comes, he says, and this particular text is talking about redemption because we're still in exile.
Okay.
And sadly to say, the Most High is still a little peeved.
Sure. Absolutely.
Because his people have not turned back to him. They are rejecting him. They are worshiping a God that's not him. And they're praying to a man that's not him. And he's still a little perturbed about that.
Sure.
So we really haven't reached this place in text where Isaiah is talking about what's going to happen in the future, because all of this here is future.
Okay.
But one thing we know, that the Most High is going to be our Redeemer. For me, he said, this is like Noah's flood. Just as I swore that no flood like Noah's would ever again cover the earth, so now I swear that never again will I be angry or rebuke you. That's redemption. That's not now. We're still being rebuked. We're still being checked. You know, the interesting thing about this whole conversation is that Hebrew Israel in exile is still being chastised, and they don't know it.
Absolutely. They don't know it. No, agreed. And you know what's even worse is the fact for those that of us, I'm going to use a word that's very germane to our times today. For those of us that are woke, it's even more worse, because it's different between being dumb, fat, and happy versus realizing what's happening and what's happening to your people, and being able to see that and then try to relate that to them, and they still reject it. I think that's the hardest part about coming into the understanding of the Most High, for me, is understanding the mitzvot and understanding how bass-ackwards everything is in relationship to text, and being able to wake up every morning and having to go out and say, even though it's tranquil to some degree for our people, it's not the way that the Most High designed things to be. Nothing is, especially over here in the West, where we live right now. We live under a government that is totally diametrically opposed to text. Pop culture is totally diametrically opposed to text. The court of public opinion is diametrically opposed. Relationships, everything that's in exile right now.
And that's because That's because let's hear what the prophet says about that situation.
Okay.
And for that, we're going to have to go to 56
Okay.
and 10. I love this because the Most High calls it out just the way it is. Now, you have to realize that prophecy speaks into the future. So the Most High is speaking to Yeshayahu in terms of not only what he's seeing amongst the leaders or the watchmen of Israel then, but also now.
Okay.
Let's read the text and see what the text sounds like.
Okay.
Israel's watchmen are all of them blind. They don't know anything. They are all dumb dogs, unable to bark, lying. They're dreaming, loving to sleep. Greedy dogs, never satisfied. Such are the shepherds, unable to understand. They all turn to their own way, each one intent on his own gain. Now,
Yeah, you should be able to read through the lines on what that's talking about.
Now let's understand what he's saying.
Sure.
Israel's watchmen. Who are the watchmen of Israel?
It's supposed to be the leaders.
The leaders of Israel, the pastors, the shepherds of Israel. All of them are blind. They don't know anything. What are they blind to? They're blind to the fact that they don't realize the warning signs of the Most High so that they can warn the people in terms of what is taking place and what's coming. They're unable to warn the people. Their narrative of warning the people is built around the idea that their eyes are on the text that said in the last days there will be wars and rumors of wars. Well, we have to ask ourselves this question. Wars and rumors of wars, in what narrative and what setting?
That's true. Because we've always
we've
heard of
we've
wars.
already had. So the wars, you've got to ask yourself, what's he talking about? Wars and rumors of wars. In what setting? Is he talking about the setting that's now? Or is he talking about the setting that is in the day of redemption?
That's a good point.
Because there's going to be war in the day of redemption. Text tells us that there is going to be war with Gog and Magog. Who's Gog and Magog? Gog and Magog are your European nations.
Yep.
And those European nations are going to be plotting against Hebrew Israel. When we read Ezekiel gives us the narrative that the Most High, and I'm going to paraphrase this, Ezekiel says, when you see Israel living in peace in their unwalled cities, it's not deja vu. It's not like it was before, where you think you can just run down here and you're going to take Israel captive and run off somewhere with her. He says in Ezekiel, that's not going to happen. What's going to happen to you when you even think about it? And you come against Israel in those unwalled cities, he says, I will cause your eye sockets to melt in your head, and you will drop dead where you are. And when you read the whole text, the Most High said, it will take Israel 7 months to clean up a stench. And there will be a hunting party that will go out into the fields and the hills to find your dead bodies to deal with the stench. So now, then he says these words up here. He talks about. Let me get back to it here. In 54, he says in 54 and 15, Any alliance that's formed against you will not be my doing. Whoever tries to form such an alliance will fall because of you.
Right.
So now this alliance here falls into the narrative of the rumors. Because what does an alliance do? An alliance gathers to presuppose an action
True.
against somebody else.
Right.
So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm going to do something to you. I'm thinking about this. I'm forming an alliance, and I'm gathering people around me to come against you. Okay? So I'm forming an alliance. That alliance is the rumor.
Okay.
Okay? So the Most High says, any alliance that forms against you will not prosper. As a matter of fact, it is I who create the craftsman who blows on the coals and forms the weapons suited for their purpose. So this alliance, whatever this alliance tries to do, either with word or with weaponry, the Most High said, I created all that. But not only did I create it, verse 70 says, no weapon made will prevail against you. In court, you will refute every accusation.
Yeah.
The servants of Yahweh inherit all of this. The reward for their righteousness is with me. But let's go back up to 16. He says, it is I who created this.
Yeah.
So I create the weapons that the alliance poses to use.
Right.
But I also created the anti-weapons to take the weapons that they pose to use, to take them out so that what they're going to do is going to fail.
That's right. Therefore,
so therefore, when we're talking about wars and rumors of wars, we have lived in a world where war has been the predominant issue since the beginning of time. I mean, Israel went to war.
Absolutely.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
When these nations have been formed, these nations in our modern world, we have war. So we have to ask ourselves a question. When he's talking about rumors of war, what war is he talking about? He's talking about the war between Gog and Magog and those European nations. That happens within the period that surrounds this idea that's called our redemption and being brought back to the land. Now, when all of this takes place, he opens up in 55 by telling us that all of you who are thirsty, come to the water. You without money, come buy and eat. Yes, come buy wine and milk without money. It's free. Okay? Now, once again, what do we have? We have a metaphor.
Metaphor here, yes. Right at the top.
So now we have to ask ourselves, what's the metaphor alluding to? Because if you don't read this with a Hebraic mind, you don't have a clue what he's talking about. All you who are thirsty, come to the water, come buy wine, milk, without money. It's free.
Right.
You don't have a clue what he's talking about.
Right. And even a more germane text to that is when we just read prior to, because if you don't have a Hebraic mind and understanding, you'll go to that part and start singing that song, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. That is not talking about you as an individual.
No. No.
Has nothing to do with that at all.
It's talking about the nation of Israel.
Right. So it's
at the time of their redemption.
Absolutely. So yeah, having a Hebraic mind and start out here, yeah, it's definitely a metaphor.
And this is why when people when I see things now, tune into my podcast for I'm rightly dividing the word of God. I'm going, dude, if you're not Hebraic, you're spiritualizing. Oh, I watched my mouth.
You got to tell me these words so I can say it, so you don't have to.
Oh, you know what? You know what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I do. But yeah, I mean,
you can't spiritualize this stuff. And I don't want to call the Most High's word stuff. You can't spiritualize what the Most High is saying to his prophets because he's very clear. If you're Hebraic, you know what he's talking about.
Sure. Sure.
All you who are thirsty. Well, you'll probably get the first part right. You'll probably say, well, all of those of you who are thirsty for the word of God. Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
but we're
Yep.
not talking about God. We're talking about Yahweh. We're talking about we're talking about His words. Come to the water. Now we have a metaphor. We have to ask ourselves, what is water? Well, you'll probably get that one right. You'll probably say, well, that's His word. But that water is specific. It's not just water. It's specific water. I mean, we drink water for the nourishment of our bodies because our bodies are made up of 90% water. But there's different kinds of water. There's some water that's more nourishing than just water. Water will nourish us, but then there's other water that has things in it that nourish the body in a more complete way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now we got to ask ourselves, what's this water he's talking about?
Right. I was going to say something why are you laughing in the back? I was going to say something real remedial. It's like, because you know the water over there, that's kind of like tap water they over there. When you taste tap water, you're like, something is in this that ain't right.
It's not pure.
Right. Instead of getting something spring water that comes straight from the source.
Yeah, pure water.
Pure water.
So, all you who are thirsty, come to. We can put in here by not adding to it,
Right?
Because it's pure water. What's the pure water? The pure water is Torah.
Absolutely.
Now, just as our bodies are the construct of 90% water, when we have absorbed and we take into our life source Torah fills in our spiritual body and our person the same thing that natural body does. It makes up 90% of who we are.
Wow, that's an excellent analogy.
I mean,
but it's truth.
When we walk in Torah and we understand how Torah affects us because see, listen, Torah doesn't just only affect us spiritually, it affects us naturally. So if it affects us spiritually and naturally, it's affecting the life source that's here. If we take water out of our system, then we're parched.
That's right.
And we're what is it? We die. We will die of thirst.
Yeah, you're dehydrated.
Dehydrated.
Right.
So without the life source of Torah, which is the water that gives the body its strength, gives its light, gives it its understanding, gives it its source that connects back to the Father. Okay? So he says, therefore, all you who thirst for that, come and get it. But I want you to get it. It comes to you without money. You don't have to buy it. Okay? But you can come and eat. Yes, come buy wine and milk. Now we have two additional metaphors in the text that give us another connection to Torah. Torah provides for us a life source. It provides for us the aspect that nourishes the soul, but wine makes us happy.
That's right.
So now let's go to Psalms 19.
Okay.
I think it is 19.
David,
Let's go to Psalms 19 and 8. We talk about the wine makes us happy. The Torah of Yahweh is perfect.
Yes.
So it's restoring the inner person. When you are dehydrated, water restores you.
Absolutely.
Okay? The instruction of Yahweh is sure, making wise the thoughtless. The precepts of Yahweh are right, rejoicing the heart. The mitzvot of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahweh is clean, enduring forever. The rulings of Yahweh are true. They are righteous altogether, more desirable than gold, than much fine gold. Also, sweeter than honey, or the drippings of a honeycomb. Through them your servant is warned, in obeying them there is great reward. So we see here in Psalms that the Most High gives us this understanding. We're over here in 55, where we are here, where he talks about wine, it makes us happy. But what does milk do? Milk, milk, milk is something that provides. I can't think of the word. Come on, I know what it is. No, come on. It gets in your bones.
Oh, calcium.
Calcium.
Yeah.
It provides calcium to your bones that strengthen your bones so that your bones can be able to hold the weight of who you are.
There you go.
So when we talk about Torah in this health context of what's here, he's giving you metaphors of all the things that Torah does. That if you're thirsty, you need to come and get this.
Wow.
Because it's going to provide all the nourishment that's going to give you, not only to strengthen you, but also to make you happy. Now, if your body is functioning in a happy state, you're a happy person.
Sure.
And you're a strong person.
That's right. That's right.
So now, he says, why spend money for what isn't food? Your wages for what doesn't satisfy. Listen carefully to me, and you will eat well. You will enjoy the fat of the land. But let's delve a little deeper into this verse.
Okay.
Why spend money for what is not food, or your wages for what doesn't satisfy?
Why am I? I'll make a shallow statement. Why am I going across the street?
Because across the street they spend money for what isn't food,
That's right.
and their wages for what doesn't satisfy.
That's right. Totally.
Now let's understand. Let's look at this from an unhealthy perspective.
Okay.
Okay. I can spend my money on that which is junk food.
Sure.
But junk food doesn't really nourish the body.
No. What it does is it will satisfy a craving, and that's about it. And then once that craving is absolved, there isn't really, like you said, there isn't any nourishment that's there. Because the body's going to continue to ask you, hey, I need some substance here.
Which takes us back down here to 56. Greedy dogs, talking about the watchman, never satisfied. Their intent is their own gain. They say, come, I'll get some wine, and we'll fill up on good, strong liquor. Well, good, strong liquor doesn't do anything but erode your liver.
Right.
I mean, people who drink a lot of alcohol are in danger of destroying their liver because it's going to eat away at their liver.
But then also in the same vein, alcohol has this aspect of this, what I would like to call a drag. It does something cognitive to you where you're not cognitively crisp or sharp at all. I mean, alcohol does have this joyous part to it, but if once you become engorged upon it, now it becomes a detriment to you because of the fact that you're not able to cognitively function.
Yeah,
correctly.
particularly when you indulge on it beyond the level of where you don't have control of what you're doing.
Sure.
I mean, I would say a alcohol within its limits um, of being controlled is not a detriment, but when you can no longer control it and it starts to controlling you,
Oh
that's
yeah.
where the Most High says, be not drunk into excess.
Excess, right?
And when you hear Solomon talk, Solomon obviously has been in a place with wine that is taken him someplace where he writes about it very strong. Don't even look at he says, don't even look at the grape. I mean, and I'm assuming from his language and from what has happened to him uh, with all these multiple wives that wine has been a detriment to him.
Sure, sure.
But anyway,
Okay.
wine here in 55 is something that makes us happy. Torah makes us happy. Milk makes us strong. Open your ears and come to me. Listen well, and you will live. I will make an everlasting covenant with you, the grace I assured David. Now, I went over this
Right.
not only in the podcast last week, but I also went over this in Saturday's dissertation when I taught this. You have to understand that the Most High has extended a grace to David. And the grace that he's extended to David, he is also extending to us in our day of redemption. And I've given him as a witness to the peoples, a leader and the lawgiver for the peoples. He calls him in text a prince. The reason why he calls him a prince because the Most High is going to always be the opulent king. David can be the king in the Eretz,
yeah.
but the Most High sees him as a prince because the Most High is the king. But he also makes him a king in the land, but he's a prince to the Most High.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now,
Most High's king in the Eretz.
Yes.
Nobody else.
no,
Nobody crowned by nobody.
he's
Okay.
the king in the Eretz, but he is also he is the opulent king over his people.
Sure.
But while he's the opulent king over his people, he is a spirit. By him being a spirit, he needs a physical individual to function on his behalf in the land as a human individual to the nation of Israel, which he makes that individual his anointed king over him. But to the Most High, he's a prince.
Okay. Okay.
He's a king,
Right.
but he's also a prince.
Which actually brings back to remembrance a mitzvah of the Most High when we talk about when you get into the land and you desire a king,
I'm going to choose him.
I will appoint it.
And so now, but here's what you understand: the Most High has already told us that I've already chosen your king,
That's right.
and his dynasty is going to be forever. See. Now, the interesting part about verse number 6 in 55, which the religious world also doesn't grasp. Seek Yahweh while he is available.
Yeah.
Call up him while he is still near. Okay? Let the wicked person abandon his way, and the evil person his thoughts. Let him return to Yahweh, and he will have mercy on him. Let him return to El, for he will freely forgive. All of this verses 6 and 7 are great texts for individuals who need to teshuvah or return. So now he says, seek me. Well, the Most High is omnipresent.
Sure.
And he's omniscient. But there are times when he is most available.
Sure.
That he has given us seasons in which he's most available. The religious world does not know what verse 6 is talking about because they don't know anything about the Most High seasons or his moedims,
Right.
in which he declares, these are my seasons or my festivals, my times of convocation, when you will meet before me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's beautiful how that ties in right into the mitzvot. I'm
And
close. Yeah.
and that's when I'm available.
Yes.
I'm available. I'm available on the on on the day of the Feast of Trumpets.
I'm available every Shabbat.
I'm available every Shabbat.
But
I'm
see,
available every Feast of Trumpets. I'm available on the Day of Atonement.
Shavuot, Yom
I'm
Kippur,
most available on the Day of
atonement, right?
But if you don't know what the Day of Atonement is, and if you don't know what the Father's moedim are, you think, well, he's available anytime. Well, no, he's not.
That's correct. But see, how do you even get to that particular point? Because in order to seek the Most High, you have to understand what these mitzvot are.
Exactly.
You have to understand the behavior patterns and what the culture of the Most High is. And the only way you're going to know that is you have to learn that text.
Right. Right. So now he goes on in verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you, there's verbiage in here that's critical to understand. Let the wicked person abandon his way, and the evil person his thoughts. Let him return to Yahweh. He will have mercy on him. He will let him return to our El, for he will freely forgive. Now, think about this. The wicked person's thoughts. We already know that the wicked person's thoughts are in opposition
Yes.
to the Most High's thoughts.
Yes.
So he's letting us know my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are my ways. Now, nor are my laws or my rules
Right.
the same as yours. For as my thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways. As high as the sky is above the earth, are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So now we understand that torah, which are the laws,
Yes.
the instructions, the mitzvot, the way of life that the Most High has given us,
Correct.
is much higher than the ways of the land
man,
that you're
yeah.
living in.
Agreed.
Because my ways, I'm giving them to you. They are uttered out of my mouth to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they come to you. My thoughts that I have about you are different than the thought that you have about you.
Mm.
You can't even think about you the way I think about you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even though I'm telling you
Uh-huh.
that I was angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I abandoned you.
Uh-huh.
And I treated you bad. But I'm telling you that I'm going to extend to you the grace I gave to David, and I'm not going to chastise you anymore.
Mm.
And I'm not going to be angry with you anymore.
Yeah.
While it is that I have good cause to do that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do it.
Right. Even at a micro level, even when we're talking about David in Shemuel, when David is selected to be the king of Israel, one of the narrative that's there that the Most High has with Shemuel, the Kohanim, is saying, because all of the sons get paraded, Yeshai's sons get paraded in front of him, and he's trying to select one. He says, no, you don't see the way that I see.
You don't see it like I see.
You see the exterior of a person. I know it's exactly what's in there. So that's also, it's a good analogy there.
Then he tells us when we do all of these things, okay,
Mm-hmm.
when we do all these things, you will go out with joy. You will be led forth in peace.
Mm-hmm.
As you come, the mountains and hills are going to burst out into song, and the trees in the countryside will clap their hands. The cypress will grow in place of thorns. The myrtles will grow instead of briars. They will bring flame to Yahweh as an eternal, imperishable sign.
Yeah.
Now, the Most High gives us a description of what nature is going to be doing. Yeah, we see the wind. Now, in this exile, we see nature playing a very disastrous role. The wind blows, the wind blows as though it's angry. And the waters roar as though they're angry and they're tearing things apart.
Mm-hmm.
In this instance, the text says, "You will go out in joy, and the mountains and the hills will burst out in song. The trees and the countryside will clap their hands."
Wow, I've never looked at it like that.
Which means that there's going to be a different kind of wind.
Wow.
Not a wind of terror, not a wind that is angry, but a wind of peace.
See,
It'll be like on a breezy day, but it will be more enamored than a breezy day.
See, what you know, like what I did last week. You know what just told me? Like you had the comic book thing last week that I had said. You just did something right now.
What?
I'm imagining. See, what you're not doing is you're not helping me stay in exile right now. You're trying. You're giving me this image of saying nature, again, which you've emphatically stated, altogether is going to function differently.
Yes.
It won't be how we experience it now.
No.
It will be in concert
Yes.
with the Most High's people, and that's something I can't fathom right now.
Well, see, here's the thing. Remember this. Redemption is all about what? What central thought is redemption about? One word. We say it all the time. Shabbat Shalom.
Peace.
Peace. So if redemption is about peace, then nature will also have to be at peace. It won't be angry anymore.
Oh. When we going?
It won't be scorching. It won't be burning things up anymore.
Wow. Huh.
I mean, this is the reason why I took on the charge of teaching this portion of Isaiah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand the metaphors and the allegories from a Hebraic perspective, you can't understand what Isaiah is talking about. And like I told my dear friend as we said, I said, you're not going to learn this in the cemetery. I mean, the seminary. They don't teach you this in the seminary.
No.
Because they don't know it.
Right. Right. It's good.
You know, I wonder sometimes how you and I could get to a place where we could literally just sit here and hold class, have a classroom with people, and just hold class and teach them how to apply Torah principles and Hebraic thought to Scripture.
Well, don't we? I mean, we do. Not in the sense of like a university style where you're coming in here and you're going through it.
Yeah. I mean, we could almost go back to the beginning as we first were doing in reading the parashahs. We could almost go back to the parashahs and reteach those parashahs from a whole different perspective.
Absolutely. I was thinking about that. I was just saying, if I was to go back now and start at Bereshit, I would probably spend half the year there. There is so much rich information in Bereshit chapter number 1 that you got to understand that sets up everything else. But I echo what you're saying. I mean, there's, even as what we're doing right now, even as we're taking a look at it and picking apart, putting that dude back up on the cross, and because you said it last week, there's no part of text now that we go to that where this dude is not getting pinned to the wall.
I mean, it's too obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a flashing red light, boing, 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 and you just can't skip over it because, you know what? Once again, being watchmen of the Most High, being able to understand, there is an obligation the Most High has given us. If you see the sword coming and you fail not to warn the people, then I'm going to charge you. But the problem being is, if you don't know what the sword looks like, you don't know how to warn the people.
Right, right. If I don't know what a left hook looks like when you're getting ready to throw it, or you position your body for it, how in the world I'm going to block and defend it?
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
And we didn't, for so very long, we didn't know how.
So that's where we are. So that's just a little bit tonight from the thoughts of Yeshayahu and the day of redemption. We'll probably talk about this some more as we move forward. But I think it's important in the minds of believers to understand the difference between the theology of the Most High and the theology of the European Greeks.
Oh, yeah.
They're diabolically opposed to each other.
Absolutely.
And you cannot come across into our narrative and try to understand it without understanding what we call the codex. Mm-hmm. And the codex is Torah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
So we're going to leave it right there for tonight. This has been Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr.
And Sean Appleton.
And this has been
Hebrews in Exile. Shalom.